Welcome back to the Finance Fundamentals TVM crash course. This video completes the 3-episode set at the start of the crash course. Here, I focus on basic calculator skills so that you gain the confidence to be able to do fast and accurate financial calculations. You don't necessarily need to break away from this video to first watch episodes 1 and 2 in the calculator skills section. But if you haven't already seen lesson A1 on general layout and A2 on setup and clearing, you will find them in the TVM crash course playlist on the Finance Fundamentals channel. You might find those videos especially helpful if you find that I cover something in this episode that you don't understand. Returning to the topic of focus in this video, I'll be showing you how to use your actual calculator model, either the HP12C or the BA2 Plus or the HP10B, to develop 3 fundamental skill sets in finance. Firstly, 5 key TVM calculations involving things like present value and solving for a rate of return. Next, discounted cash flow or DCF calculations in which you will work out a net present value or internal rate of return. Finally, calculations involving exponents for when an equation is faster and more convenient than using the TVM or DCF keys. Although I discuss calculator layout in detail in lesson A1, here are the main keys that you will be using in this video, identified for each of the 3 calculators. If you already know where these keys are, that's great. But if not, pause the video and make sure that you can find them. Notice that some key placements might seem to be frustratingly hidden away until you are well practiced with your calculator. Next, here are the sample problems that I will be using to illustrate the required steps for each calculator. We will use the 5 key TVM section to solve for today's value for a level coupon bond, then the DCF keys to determine the value of a share given a short-term projection of dividends along with a terminal value. The last of the 3 examples is to use an equation rather than any of the TVM keys to calculate the value of a zero coupon bond. I will be showing these details again as we go through each demonstration, so you don't need to make notes or pause the video at this stage. Giving away the answers in green here is not really a spoiler, because the objective of this video is for you to get your key presses right and to make sure that you can get your calculator to replicate the same output as mine. It isn't the right time yet to try to solve any equity or fixed income valuation problems. We will do those things later in the crash course. Starting with the 12C and the 5 key TVM inputs, first, clear all registers using orange shift F, then clear REG. Then press 8, N, 4.2, I, 5,000, PMT, 100,000, FV, and solve for PV by simply pressing that key. For the DCF example, begin as usual with clearing all registers. Then 9.5 and enter that into I in the TVM section as your discount rate for the cash flows. Next, enter 0, blue shift G and CF0. Then 100, blue shift CF subscript J for cash flow 1. 25, blue shift CFJ for the second cash flow, and 220, blue shift CFJ for the last of the 3 cash flows. End the DCF calculation by solving for net present value using orange shift and the NPV key. To solve the equation, First, note that like most users of the 12C, I leave mine permanently in reverse Polish notation. So the key presses are clear registers, then 100, enter, 1.075, enter, 4, y to the x, and end with the divide key. If you followed along on your own calculator but did not get the right answer, I have some suggestions about what might have gone wrong. See the troubleshooting section towards the end of the video. Next, the BA2+. For the 5-key TVM problem, start with clearing the correct registers with second clear TVM. Then 8, N, 4.2, I/Y, 5,000, PMT, 100,000, FV, and solve for present value by pressing CPT or compute at top left, then PV. To calculate NPV, press CF to enter the DCF zone. Then clear registers before doing anything else using second clear worksheet. Enter 0 at cash flow location 0 as shown. Next, press the down arrow to move to CF1, where you enter 100, followed by pressing the down arrow twice to move to CF2. Key in 25 and enter to store the correct cash flow at this location on the timeline. Then the down arrow twice and 220 is entered at cash flow location 3. To enter the discount rate, press the NPV key, which will show the current discount rate stored in your calculator. Enter 9.5 and enter. Next, press the down arrow once and then the compute key. Moving on to the equation, enter 100, then divide, then 1.075, then the y to the x key, then 4, and equals. If you couldn't replicate my answer, instead ending up with 93.023 or some other giant number in the tens of millions, I know what went wrong. Check out the troubleshooting section at the end of the video. Finally, the HP10B. For the first problem, start by clearing all registers using orange shift, then clear all. Then press 8, N, 4.2, I/YR, 5,000, PMT, 100,000, FV, and solve for PV by pressing that key. To calculate NPV using the DCF functions, as usual, first clear all before doing anything. Notice the correct 1 per year flashing briefly onto the display. Then enter 9.5 into I/YR in the TVM section as your discount rate for the cash flows. Next, enter 0, CF subscript J. Then 100, CFJ for cash flow 1, 25, CFJ for the second cash flow, and 220 CFJ for the last of the 3 cash flows. And by solving for net present value using orange shift and the NPV key. The last of the calculation demos is the equation. Clear all, then enter 100, then divide, then 1.075, orange shift and the y to the x key, then 4, and equals. If you struggled with getting the same answers as me, stay tuned for troubleshooting up next. Some common sources of error are, firstly, being in begin instead of end mode for TVM calculations with repeating cash flows. Second, not having the correct discount rate entered for DCF calculations. In addition to the error shown on the screen, another common one is ending up with an NPV of 0, which means that you use the IRR or internal rate of return as your discount rate. And the last source of error in this context is doing compound arithmetic operations without first checking whether you are in algebraic or chain mode. If you have any questions or unresolved problems, or anything is driving you crazy about these calculators, let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to help you out as soon as I can.